begins with my mom. She grew up in a Balkan country, far away from anything, in a small village where everyone knew everyone, and they were all Muslim there. But my family, for some reason, wasn't as religious as the other people. And every time they prayed to God. They didn't use Allah or something like that. They just used the word God. They believed in God. Especially my mom, she didn't believe in the Quran or anything like that. But she did believe in God. And one day she wanted to go to the lake to learn how to swim. And she went there by herself. And she jumped in the water, and it was too deep. She started drowning. And she fought for a little while, but she went underwater, and she thought that was it for her. And this white hand of light grabs her by the hand and pulls her out really fast. And somehow she's on the side of the lake, fine. And that's her first encounter with what I think was an angel. Now, fast forward about 15 years or so. She's 18 or 19. I'm newly born. And war is breaking out. And everybody gets separated. They get all separated from her family. And she goes with these people, some strangers, to trying to get to a safe location because the women and children were getting killed. And the women were getting raped and murdered in front of their husbands and children. And so she took the chance of going through the woods with this group of people. She was tired, so she sat down by a tree trying to feed me, and she felt sick, and she was born sick, by the way. Her entire life she's been sick, and I'm not going to go into that because it's none of my business to share it with other people, but she's had a very tough life, and that's why she had to rest, and she couldn't go on with the other group, and they disappeared in the forest, and she tried to catch up after maybe an hour. She could stand again, and she walked, and she came to a crossroads. After a couple hours of walking in the forest alone, she came to a crossroads, and she decided to just guess and take a path, because there was no signs or anything like that. And a man appeared behind her, and he said to her that she shouldn't take that road because there's a minefield there, and her and the child, me, would die. And so she went the other way, and the man disappeared right in front of our eyes. So when she told me this, I never believed her. I do now, though. I do believe her. And she came to this place where people could rest and get some food and water, a camp of sorts. And she fell asleep. She had a dream about these little fairies telling her where she was gonna go. The future. They kept telling her she was gonna go to Sweden, the location, what it looked like. She got all these visions and stuff. And she was always open to the spiritual realm since birth. And she's one of the most nicest people, one of the strongest people, one of the most intelligent people I have ever known in my life. And I'm not just saying that because she's my mom, but she got these visions, and sure enough, she came to Sweden and the exact same place they said and everything. When I was a kid, this is a couple years after, when I'm maybe 7 or 8 years old, I see this shadow on the wall of a man in a really fancy clothing and a hat. And I knew instantly that it was Satan. And I knew that he wanted something from me. It was more than just wanting to hurt me. It was something else. And I heard these whispers in my head. And it's like a hissing sound. And the fear you experience when you hear this, it's unnatural. You cannot ever feel it by any human things. I mean, a horror movie doesn't even come close to this. Walking down a dark road in the forest in the middle of the night doesn't come close to what this felt like. I was terrified. I couldn't even move or speak. I could see the shadow. And it was almost like he was saying hello to me. I quickly fell asleep. And I ignored it. My entire life, I forgot about it. And now we fast forward to when I'm a teenager or young adult. I'm 18, 19. And throughout my life, I've never been a worldly person. I've never enjoyed this world. I always felt like I was out of place. I always felt like there was something. I always felt like I was waiting for something my entire life. All my life I felt like that. And it was such a strong feeling that nothing that people were doing appealed to me. Going to parties never appealed to me. Getting drunk never appealed to me. Being with a bunch of girls never appealed to me. I always was to myself. I always felt like there was something else in this world. And I always felt drawn to fantasy games and movies, the supernatural, magic, but I never thought that any of that was ever real. And then I'm maybe 20 years old, almost 5 years ago. I started researching about the Illuminati and all this New Age stuff. And I found Alchemy, and I kept reading about how many people actually were. There were thousands of books on alchemy, and I didn't understand why, because in my mind that was fake. and everyone kept writing the same things in different ways. There was a pattern there. And so I started studying alchemy, and I felt like I fell in love with it. I felt warm and fuzzy inside, and I thought, if I can figure this out, I have the keys to death and riches and all that. And so I started really researching alchemy. I mean, you wouldn't believe me if I told you how many hours per day I spent researching for years about this stuff. Not just alchemy, but aliens and Illuminati and stuff. It was my job. And it became somewhat of an obsession to me. And I finally figured out how to make gold. And I only managed to make small amounts of it because of a couple of reasons I can't really go into, but I knew it was real. And that's when I started to pray to God, because I kept seeing all these alchemists praying to God and having encounters with spiritual beings, and it became real to me. I knew that I figured that it had to be real, had to exist. So I prayed to God. I didn't know which God it was. Didn't know if it was the Christian God or whatever, And so I just prayed to God. I kept saying, every time I prayed, I kept praying to the Most High, the Creator of all things, the God of all gods, and stuff like that. I used those kind of words instead of a name. And one night I was researching about aliens, and I had thought that some kind of beings came down to Earth. This is what all my research told me, that beings came to Earth and gave mankind knowledge about everything. Science, alchemy. And alchemy, by the way, is just neutered science. Alchemy is the spiritual side of science. And that's what I thought. And I thought when I saw UFOs, because I have seen UFOs with my own eyes, I thought that it was alchemists that had all this knowledge, and I thought that the alchemists were the Illuminati, the highest at the top, and I thought that that's how they became rich, by making gold, and buying up everything and controlling it and regulating it and keeping it a secret and letting only the elect figure it out, And I kept researching more about that. And then I came to this website that was really in-depth about aliens. I didn't think the UFOs were aliens, but I knew that some kind of beings existed. And it said that they loved when humans died. They loved watching people die. They loved blood and blood sacrifices and all that stuff. Blood magic. So, I figured that it would be better to be with them than against them, because I wanted my family to have a good life, and I wanted to provide for them and have them happy. And so that night, after I had read that website about the aliens and all these blood sacrifices people made and stuff like that, I went to the window and I whispered to myself, if you're out there, I would like to join you. I will do anything you want. I will sell my soul to you. I will do whatever you want. just let me join. I will be a good asset to you. And I went to bed and I watched some silly YouTube videos or something like that, and I started hearing these hissing sounds like I spoke about before, but I had forgotten about it, so this was brand new to me, and I felt so much fear. And I was at 99.99% of giving. I mean, the fear acts like some kind of. The fear acts like a scale and an entrance, and if you become 100% scared, this is what I personally felt. I don't know. It's like that for everyone, but if you feel 100% scared, they are allowed to take you. And I somehow just knew that. It's so beyond communication that we do normally. It's beyond anything. Like, you just know everything they want and what's gonna happen to you if you do this. And so I didn't let myself get scared 100%. I mean, I was at 0.1% left. And I kept swearing at them. I told them I wasn't scared, and I told them that they were not gonna get my soul, and I said that I regretted what I said. And this only happened for 5 minutes because my computer didn't even have time to shut down. Usually timers on 10 minutes, and this happened in 5 minutes. And but it felt like hours. It felt like I was doing this all night. It felt like time didn't exist. It felt like hours and hours and days of this stuff. And finally, it stopped, and I immediately fell asleep because I was so exhausted. And most of my life I've been doing hard labor because I enjoy working with my hands and my body. But this was tiring. I've never been that tired in my life. And so I fell asleep and I woke up, and it's almost like it was a dream. I knew it was real and that it happened, but I didn't want to believe that it happened. Because if it did, then what would happen the next night, And I was scared of that. But I forgot about it almost instantly as I woke up. It's very strange how that works. And I went on with my day. And during, the evening, I researched some more about it. I decided either I research about these things or next time I'm a goner. I just knew that I would be gone. And so I came up to these people. They kept saying they could stop alien abductions by calling out to Jesus. I thought that was ridiculous. I made no connection between Jesus being God and these things being demons and all that. I made no connection. It was complete spiritual blindness. When people don't understand what you're talking about, it's not because they're stupid, they're spiritually blind. They cannot get what you're saying. That's a huge problem. And unless someone is willing, by their own free will, to learn about these things, it doesn't matter how much information you give these people. They will never believe in God, in Jesus. And it's only Jesus. It's nothing else. Not Buddha, not Allah, nothing else. It's just Jesus. That's where the spiritual blindness is. And so I forgot. I looked at that website for less than a minute. I went to the front page. I'm gonna post a link in the description below, but I went to the front page of it for like 20 seconds tops. I read the first lines and I thought that was ridiculous, and I just thought that was propaganda, Christian propaganda to join church or whatever. And so night comes and I'm still, doing the same things I did before on YouTube. I always watch, silly gaming videos or something like that before bed. And it started again, and they attacked me even more intensely. And the voices were so loud, it's deafening. If you could have ear pain in your head, it would be like someone, having a trumpet right on both your ears, right, there. It was so loud, and there were so many of them. It wasn't just one voice, there was hundreds of them. And out of nowhere, I didn't even think about Jesus. I didn't think about Jesus. I don't know exactly what happened, but before, it began, and then half a second later, I was crying out to Jesus. It was so fast, I didn't have time to think about anything. I didn't have time to think about Jesus. I didn't have time even to be scared or anything like that. I just said, Jesus, help me, and immediately it stopped. And for less than a split second, I could see Jesus Christ. I could just see white, his arms stretched out. And I knew then who God was. And I could feel this calm like I've never felt before. And I saw Jesus, I saw the light. And it was so bright and so loving. And that's when I knew who God was. And it's not something you can explain to people. It is beyond words or thoughts or feelings. And almost a year later, here I am making this video to you guys. This has been Cherubim Church. God bless each and one of you that listens to this. There's not much time left. I don't want to worry anyone, but there's not a lot of time left of this earth. Lucifer is going down, and he's gonna bring a lot of people with him. And we're in a battle. We're in a war. And we're gonna win. My name is Edward. The last name I was born with is literally translated as Son of the Lord. I'm a believer and follower of Jesus Christ. And in my last breath, I'm going to confess his name to the entire world. Amen.